G'day guys, it's Stuart here from Dougie Bird's Tackle World. Here to do the fishing report for the 1st, which is Friday, 2nd and 3rd of December. Well, this year has rocketed past. We're already in the final stages and the fishing is just getting heated up. Obviously this last week we've definitely had a fair bit of humid, bit of storm activity. Generally that first row of storms that come through kind of start that early bite of say mackerel, bit of your pelagic stuff offshore, and definitely still all your jacks and bass in the rivers. So as you can tell, I'm all by myself today. There's no Dougie by my side, but he's actually away at the moment. So you're stuck with me for the next couple of weeks. As always, we'll start out wide and we'll come back in and yeah, we'll discuss what's been happening the last week or so. So I had a little bit of a look at the weather. And this weekend, Saturday the 2nd, looks like you should be able to get out for a bit of an early morning run just before that northerly comes in at around about say 11 or 12 o'clock. And then obviously it's going to push you home. So it comes through at about 15 knots. And then on Sunday, well, Sunday's a glamour day. So at this stage, last time I checked, which was about 10 minutes ago, this is on Thursday, it was nothing above 10 knots all day. So it looks really good for a day out on the water, whether inside or offshore. So look, we'll start offshore. If you want to go wide, Sunday's definitely the day, but there's plenty of options in close as well. So there's been a couple of mackerel already starting to turn up. So we're talking spotted mackerel, no Spanish as of yet. I have heard of a couple. There's been a few by Facebook reports and a couple of the odd customer here and there up off the pin. Just fishing that dirty water line out the front of the pin bar. Definitely make sure that you watch out for that green zone that does run along South Stradian to nearly the bar mouth. And then the other area there's been a couple has been down on Palm Beach Reef. So Palmy definitely, or generally, has that early run of spotties, and they're always a little bit larger. So you get a couple of weeks of them, they fire a little bit, you get a couple every morning, and then they do go quiet, and then they come back through later on in the season. So it's like they hit down there, they come back, do a U-turn, and then kind of start from the start again. But those early season ones, as I said before, they're always a little bit bigger. So at the moment, guys have been spinning metals. I forgot to bring them up, having a bit of a shocker. But spinning metals around that 25 to say 50 gram size. Throw it out, always let the metal sink to the bottom and just wind really quick for a fair few winds and then stop and then wind fast again. So you definitely want to trigger that kind of bite response, and by winding nice and quick definitely gets them all barred up and angry. They want to eat it. The other thing is you can slow troll pillies. So we have our pilly rigs in stock at the moment as well. Really easy, just rig a whole pilly. Just uses a nose cone, secures it in a skirt, and troll those fellas around just in gear. So it's a really good way to find fish if they're not really schooled up. You can troll the perimeter of the reef, or in and out of the boats if it's not too congested down there. Or last kind of option, bit of a surefire method, works all the time. Anchor, burley up and try to get those fish active in your burley trail and float line those half pillies back to them. So when you are floating, generally it depends on current, but no weight is always better. So if you want to chase a few mackerel this weekend, as I said, the weather both days would permit for that at this point in time, and it's a good option. Other than that, you can definitely go for a troll. So there's obviously still plenty of dolphin fish out there. We've had a bit of northerly current the last couple of days, so that's current running from the north. From the south, to the north, so I was running uphill. It's not ideal, it's kind of shut the fish down, but it does look like it's going to turn around, hopefully, fingers crossed. But trolling the skirts, like the Pakula stuff, really good. Couple of surefire colours there, so bright stuff like that pink one, Brad J, always works really good on the dollies. Lumo on the outside, and that's just Evil in the middle, so that's a pretty reasonable spread if you wanted to run the 3 rods. And trolling for the dolphin fish and stuff, always run those lures a little bit further out in that cleaner water. So away from your prop wash, and generally, as I said, those lighter colours, brighter colours, they stand out better in that clean water out a little bit further. So we've got plenty in stock at the moment. We do rig them in store ready to go. So if you are chasing any scots, swing past and we'll be able to help you out and tell you what they've been biting on lately. So around all the FAD type of area, so around that FADs 12B and C out the front, straight east of the Seaway on the 36s, that's had quite a few fish on. Whether or not they want to bite on the day, unfortunately that is dolphin fish at the moment. So you can see them swimming around, sometimes they just don't bite your pillies or what you're offering. That's when trolling comes into its own, or throwing those little stick baits and stuff like that. Other than that, up on FAD 13, which is like the northeast 50s, up off the pin, that's had a few better size fish. We had a couple of customers fish it early in the week and they caught definitely bigger size. So that was throwing little stick baits and little plastics like those little fellas. Nothing too big, 4 inch, 5 inches, pull it up easy. When all the boats turn up, they generally do push those fish down. So you can try jigging as well. So, and in and around the same area, you'll catch snapper, pearlies, all that type of stuff. So that's just a mustard wingman, really good. And one of the vexed ones, one of the dewdrops. So they work a treat. I've used them up the reef, I've used them out the front here, and they work a treat everywhere. So they have been working really good when those fish do get pushed down, or if you want to jig for pearlies and snapper. So there's still been plenty of them around as well. Generally on that, say, 36s to 50s, they have pushed out a little bit further than they were a few weeks ago. They're just chasing that cooler water. So obviously because of that depth, it's definitely cooler down deep. The other thing is it's been working up around that northeast 50s areas, kingy fishing. So kingies, amberjack, the odd Samson, but mainly kingies and amberjack. But jigging works a treat. So we just got, I think we might have showed some of these last week, but the new Shimano jigs, they're reasonably priced. Most of them do come pre-rigged except for those little fellas, the 150s, you got to put hooks on them. But really good jig, good quality hardware and awesome new colors. So we've already sold a few and customers are coming back buying more, which is always a really good sign when a new jig comes out on the market. It means it's been working a treat. And yeah, apart from that, deep drop-in wise, a little bit past the 50s obviously, but out in that 220 to say 350 meters, it's been hard to do, obviously, because this time of year that current does push through and the weather as well is quite unpredictable. But we have had a couple of customers still getting a few bar caught up in that depth. The odd flamey here and there, and obviously heaps of green eyes and things like that, which if you do like eating flake, they're beautiful, but they are a shark, so you're only supposed to keep one of them. Okay, we'll start coming in now. So we'll start up the jumper pin. There's still been a fair few flatties around up there. After all of this rain, it's definitely going to stir things up. So that last push of the run-in tide, it's quite big tides at the moment coming off that full moon that we had on about Wednesday. But I would definitely be trying to fish around the bar mouth itself, around the front out of Kalinga and around Duck Creek where it comes out. Fish along that edge, jigging plastics around that 4 inch size, or even pre-rig stuff works quite well. So that's one of the Bite Science ones. Out of all pre-rig plastics, guys, these are probably one of the better quality ones. They've got BKK hooks, they're nice and sharp, and they're quite a sturdy, strong plastic. So if you want pre-rig easy, these are the option to go for. But yeah, so fishing around that deeper water, even around like the tip of Caruso and those new lagoons, you'll catch lots of flatties and stuff like that. Obviously with that big tide, it's going to push a lot of bait right up in the shallow, so I'd be definitely throwing up in that shallow stuff. And also as well, it's going to flush a lot of bait in from offshore. So any froggies and white bait and stuff like that that congregate around those bar mouths this time of year, it's going to push all them in. So keep an eye out for tailor, trevally, and underneath that you generally get schools of dewies and stuff like that as well. So live baiting for those dew up in jump up in bar, last the run in, on that turn of the tide, first the run out is generally pretty productive. And I'd just try to get some live pike and live bait them around the deeper drop off. So that's another option for you. If not, whiting fishing. There's definitely been a fair few whiting in those new lagoons. So the lagoons on the end of South Stratty. Just fish that freshly covered bank. It's a really good tide for it this weekend, guys. You should have a low tide. I'm going to take a stab in the dark and say around about maybe 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock type of thing, and with a high tide around midday. And it's a really big tide, as I said. So you should be able to fish that first push of the run in and definitely catch a fair few doing that. So pump yabbies, worms work really well as well if you don't want to pump yabbies, or little surface lures as well. And the thing is, the decent whiting and the larger fish generally always try to push up in that shallow stuff first. So don't be afraid to stand on like dry sand and fish in, say, less than a foot of water. You catch some really big fish doing that, guys. So just walk around, wade around. If the sun's nice and high, even though we're predicted rain, but if there is a bit of sun, you can look for fish tailing and flashing in that shallow stuff as well. And it's quite an interactive and quite a fun way of fishing. So that's definitely something that the whole family can do as well. So it's really good. While we're up there, I definitely try putting my muddy pots in, so chasing crabs. I'd definitely try to put them around, say, Cobby area, all up behind Jacob's Well and Rudy Mars, all of those kind of feeder creeks, back end of the Pimpamar. After that rain during the week, it's definitely dirtied the water up and it should get those crabs on the move. So try putting them out the front of the creeks, as I said. I wouldn't go running right up in the creeks on the high tide. Edges of channels and things like that, generally with that fresh water, flushes them out pretty quick. Within a couple of days, they're in that channel. So run just the standard crab pots. Try to run fresh bait. That's the biggest key. Everyone thinks that crabs like smelly bait. I'll tell you what, if I was a crab, I wouldn't like smelly bait, so why should they? But I just use fish frames on mullet and stuff like that. Something that's quite oily and it takes that scent a long way. So that's something else to try. Moving back down this end, so back down the Goldie end, so around the Aldershots type of area, still a fair few flatties around there. That's definitely somewhere where I'd be putting my crab pots, around that middle stretch, so out the front of the Coomera Rivers and out the front of the Pimpamar, like around Coran. Generally this time of year after that rain, it pushes a fair few muddies and stuff like that around there. And there's still been a lot of sandies as well, so you run the chance of getting both, which is always good. And then back around Crab Island, so we're working south, still heaps of flatties around there. Just casting little plastics on the high tide and little vibes. You should find a few. Generally this time of year the high tide does fish better because that water's a bit cooler. So flatties do like cool water. Obviously they're predominantly a winter fish, but little vibes like that little samaki or the little fish trap on the top. And then the other option is some little plastics. So that's just one of the new Bait Junkie prawns. So we just received these little fellas in stock. They look really good. They've got those little legs underneath, segmented body, and they should work an absolute treat. And of course they're out of that Elastec-y type material, so nice and hardy as well. Around that area, obviously Runaway Bay Canal and all the canals along, say, Shearwater and that type of area, Bigger Creek. There's been plenty of mangrove jack that last couple of weeks since it's been warming up, and they actually like a little bit of dirtier water as well. They're less finicky. So early morning, late afternoon, I'd definitely be trying some little surface lures. So that's just a little risk bait surface walker on the top, little Jackson product, great hooks straight out the packet, or a Ra pop on the bottom. So both Jackson, but nice and shiny. So any light that might be around on those low light periods, they're going to shine. They're going to stand out and should get those jacks from under those pontoons and off those rock bars and get them nice and active. Other than that, slow rolling plastics like those little Z-Mans that I showed before, that 4-inch size, works really good. Just run them on a 1/2 ounce head because you want those things swimming underneath the pontoons. Or hard bodies work quite well as well. So just slow rolling, or you can twitch them hard as well, but ones like that little Reddick from Samaki, they work quite well as well. So that's kind of your jack fishing. Been a couple of Jewies around in the Seaway as well for those guys that want a live bait or bounce those bigger plastics on the tide changes, just on the north wall in that hole. I always try to fish where the rocks meet the sand. So obviously you've got the wall coming out as a finger. There's a point where those rocks kind of run out. They run off the bank, off the side, and then you've got the sand, the bottom of the Seaway. Most of those fish will school along that passage. A, it's a great ambush point for them, and B, generally around where rocks meet sand, there's a bit of it's like less current, bit of a back eddy and stuff like that forms off the back of rocks. So that's a really good option as well. But yeah, So that's around there. Still a few whiting up the Nerang as well, around the council chambers. And back a wave breaking out the front of the Grand on those banks around Accra. I think it's Curlew Island. On that first run of push of the run in towards the high tide as well, you'll catch them all in the shallows there as well. So unweighted yabbies, worms, and those little poppers and stuff like that will work around there. I think next, kind of freshwater stuff. So the dam should fire a fair bit. Obviously, we've had that bit of rain during the week, and it definitely pushes the water up fairly quick. So the dams these days have a lot of runoff area, and they kind of rise rather quickly. So I would try fishing that freshly flooded stuff. So generally when a dam rises pretty rapidly after a big downpour, they all the fish kind of jump up on that bank and they go and swim around the freshly covered weed and trees and all that type of thing, eating all the bugs out of it. So surface is a really good option. So little cicada patterns or little surface walkers like that little bass day. Something nice and noisy, like the water might be a little bit discoloured, depends where it's running from. This is the same thing in the creeks as well, guys. So early morning, late arvy, into the night, throw your little surface lures. And then once that sun comes up, the fish generally push down. So spinnerbaits are good, rather snagless option for running in that newly covered water, newly covered banks, around that snaggy stuff. And then the other thing is, if you just want to kind of get away from the banks and fish in the main basin of the dam or any river that you might be fishing, vibing for bass works really good. So ZX style blades, or these little TT switch prawns, little blades there, they work really well. Great thing about them is they vibe really hard, easy to use, and you can tell when they're fouled up. So just tie them straight to the little clip provided on the lure, no loop knots, and yeah, just vibe them off the bottom. So once they hit the bottom, wind up the slack. I just generally wind them up a metre so you don't get snagged all the time, and vibe them around those tree bases. So that generally triggers a bit of a response if you can see them on the sounder and they don't want to bite. The only other option, guys, like obviously we're coming off that full moon, but a lot of our customers are still going up north chasing barra around Mondi and Awonga and stuff like that, out west around Callide. And the barra dams have really been firing. We've just seen the end of the Zerrick Barra Tour, so that's all on the northern dams. So I think they fish Teamburra, Kinchin and Peter Fouse, which is up around Airlie and Mackay type of area. But lots of barra around, even in the southern ones as well. So yeah, Mondurun and all those ones around Gladstone type of region. Lures to try if you want to do that. I mean, we've all done a little bit of barra fishing over the years, but the Molex 140s, pretty easy lure to use. They're heavy, but cast those bad boys out, let them sink down a little bit and just slow wind back. And then the Flat Shad X works really good as well, like around those weed edges, around where it's a little bit shallower and you don't want to plow into the weed. The other thing to try, jerk baiting for barra, definitely really good. You can run the Redix straight out the packet. They come with really strong BKK hooks. And those are the two colours that kind of have been working up in those northern dams at the moment. So we've got black gold up the top and just the white bait on the bottom. So they work really well, guys. As I said, run them straight out the packet, bit of 60-pound leader straight to it and you're laughing. But yeah, so there's a couple of options there, guys, for you. If you want to fish around here or you want to do a dam trip and get away from the Gold Coast a little bit, there's plenty of options. We've got really good weather coming through on that Sunday, like I said. So definitely try to get the yard work out the way on Saturday and yeah, see how you go. Apart from that, coming into Christmas, we've got heaps of stock. Dougie's done heaps of ordering before he has left, which is good. Always something exciting coming through. Heaps of little stocking fillers as well, guys. So if you've got someone keen in the family or a friend, you don't know what to buy them, plenty of options. Things like a cast line burner. Look at that. It's a UV torch, line burner on top. If you're into tying fancy knots like the FGs and stuff, which I do, really good to finish off your knot. And look, something that it's a bit of a no-brainer. Not everyone's got one, so it's a good little stocking filler for them. So that's me, Stewie, and the team. Doug Burt's Tackle World signing out for this week's fishing report. And yeah, we look forward to seeing you over the weekend and hopefully you catch a couple. Don't forget, if you've got a mate like Dougie that can't catch many fish, you can check out our YouTube channel and get some tips off me. Thanks. Bye.